Coming up on West Dakota Fox News at 9, a protest over an editorial choice to release the name of an officer involved in a shooting. Plus, Mayor Mike Seminary announces his intention to run for re-election, despite a recent recall attempt by his opposition. But first, 26 parishioners gunned down during worship as a community bands together to heal, troubling new details on the gunman's violent past.
This is West Dakota Fox News at 9 with Molly Martinez and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Good evening, I'm Molly Martinez. A community and nation in mourning after another senseless act of violence. Tonight we're learning about the victims, the shooter, and who may have been his intended target. Reporter Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
Authorities now say the more than 24 people killed in Sunday's deadly church massacre included an 18-month-old child and a pregnant mother of 5.
Now most of our church family is gone.
Investigators say before 26-year-old Devin Patrick Kelly opened fire Sunday, he recently sent threatening text messages to his mother-in-law, who sometimes attended the church but was not there Sunday.
There was a domestic situation going on within this family.
During Sunday's attack, the church's pastor was out of town with his wife, but their 14-year-old daughter, Annabelle, was among those killed.
And one thing that gives me a sliver of encouragement is the fact that Belle was surrounded yesterday by her church family that she loved fiercely.
A local man says he was driving by the church when he spotted a neighbor exchanging gunfire with the suspect.
The shooter took off and the neighbor came over, jumped in my truck and said he just shot at the church and said we have to get him. I said let's go.
From there, they gave chase.
I was doing about 90, 95 miles an hour all the way. I did see him lose control of his vehicle and crash.
After that, police arrived and say the suspect died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. At this point, investigators say they've concluded the shooting was not radically or religiously motivated. Kelly received a bad conduct discharge from the Air Force after being court-martialed in 2012 for assaulting his spouse and child. And Texas police say they responded to at least one domestic violence call involving the suspect. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Governor Doug Burgum is weighing in on the tragedy. In a statement released this morning, he says, quote, "Catherine and I are deeply appalled and saddened by this unspeakable act of tragic violence." He goes on to say targeting church parishioners during a worship service is an especially heinous and cowardly act. Our nation was founded on the right to worship free from fear, and we should unite to ensure that the bonds of community and security among all who exercise this right remain unbroken. Incidents like these can make us all wonder just how safe we really are. Reporter Daniela Hurtado spoke to some local church officials today to find out what people are doing in the area to protect themselves.
A small town mourns over more than 24 people killed in Texas over the weekend. And today, all eyes are on churches across the nation. Some wonder if any place is safe anymore, or is this a new normal?
Not surprising, sad, deeply sad for the families.
Some churches in Bismarck say they're prepared for anything.
Every Sunday morning we have an EMT here, as well as we have other people that are trained on basic first aid.
Police officer Clint Fuller says they've trained some churches on how to be prepared in case of an active shooter.
If something does happen, they're not running in panic mode, that they have a plan in place of how to act. In a crisis situation, seconds can count.
Police say parishioners are allowed to carry guns at church with a few requirements.
If you're a member of the church and you have a concealed weapons permit, you have to have a concealed weapons permit, you have to be authorized by the church leader to carry in church, and then you have to notify law enforcement. We have a list of people that are authorized by that church to carry.
Bismarck PD and churches agree that planning is key to any situation, big or small. For West Dakota Fox News at 9, I'm Daniela Hurtado.
The director of operations at Century Baptist says if any church needs help putting together a safety plan or team, they are willing to help. Time now to take a check on weather with meteorologist Henry Blake for our other big story of the day, the snow.
Yeah, as far as the snow totals today,
Thank you, Henry. Protesters gathered outside the Bismarck Tribune offices today, angry that the paper released the name of an officer involved in a shooting. The police department invoked Marsy's Law, aimed to protect the identities of victims of crimes. While protesters spoke out against the release of the officer's name, others say the move could set a precedent for future cases, bringing police accountability into question. Reporter Cynthia McLaughlin picks up the story from Bismarck.
Protesters gathered outside of the Bismarck Tribune Monday morning in response to a reporter releasing an officer's name involved in a shooting. The Bismarck Police Department did not release the identity of the patrolman.
Well, they're certainly entitled to their opinion and to express their views. We obviously stand by our story.
Crime reporter Jack Dura found the name in public records and decided to release it, despite police efforts to use Marsy's Law as a shield.
Bismarck Tribune reporter didn't break the law. He used open records, but he went around the respect to where the police department and other people said they didn't want a police officer's name released, and he released it in an article anyway.
Jack McDonald of Wheeler Wolf Law Firm says the news media can use any public information they obtain if they wish to do so. Marsy's Law concerns the release of information by officials, not the use of that information. He also says the Tribune was perfectly within its constitutional rights to print the officer's name if it wanted to. The protesters say they were there for more than a show of support for law enforcement and first responders.
So people know that there are still laws in place that need to be followed.
Dura declined to comment. The editor of the Tribune says conflicts between local law enforcement and the paper is not unusual.
There are times when they may not care for what we do, and there are times when we may not agree with what they do. That's normal throughout the business we do. But it doesn't mean we don't support them.
Bismarck Police Department declined to comment on Monday's protest. For West Dakota Fox News at 9, I'm Cynthia McLaughlin.
We're learning more about an overnight shooting in southeast Minot. Police say a 28-year-old man was shot in a vehicle at an apartment complex. Another person in the vehicle took him to the hospital, where he's now in stable condition. An 11-year-old Bismarck girl was hit by a car Friday morning while crossing the street to get to her bus stop. She says the bus was parked and had its lights on and stop signs sticking out. Police say a car clipped the girl with a side mirror and ran over her feet. A witness says the driver got out of the car and yelled at the girl before driving away. Police were able to track him down. The girl was taken to the hospital. For those who suffer from chronic kidney disease, help could be hiding in your cup of coffee. Researchers studied more than 2,300 Americans with chronic kidney disease, and they found that people who drink highly caffeinated drinks had a 24% lower mortality rate. However, it should be noted that the study was strictly observational. The findings were presented during the American Society of Nephrology annual meeting in New Orleans. It was a big weekend at the box office. Marvel's Thor Ragnarok hammered off the competition, raking in an impressive $121 million domestically. A robust raccoon in Illinois got himself into an embarrassing situation. Take a look. This adorably chubby guy got stuck in between the rungs of a sewer grate. This is in Zion, Illinois. The city police department responded to the call. They were able to squeeze him out with the help of the public works department. From the looks of it, he was a good sport about it. Time now to take one final check on weather.
Okay, I gotta ask, was that a grin on his face?
He's loving it.
He was loving it. Hey, it's gonna be a 6-week hold over the next few days. We get a little bit of relief over the weekend.
All right, thank you very much, Henry, and we will see you tomorrow, and watch out for sewer grates.